Hi, I'm Paula at Tri-State Sewing and Quilting, and I'm just sitting down here to the PFAFF Quilt Expression 720. I have the PFAFF quilt binder on here right now, and I've cut out a Bapron. So I have cotton on the back, and I have flannel on the front. These are fabrics that we carry in the shop here. Okay, so I've cut my fabric. I've got some orange here, and I have the needle positioned to minus 2.3. This is on straight stitch. And I have the stitch length at 3.5. You can also adjust these two to get it where you want it, but I'm happy with what I'm doing right here. So I'm going to sew up to the end here, and then I'm going to push the cut. I have a scissor on the machine, and that's going to cut the thread and lift the foot up. So I've done the first armhole. So now I'm just going to cut this right here. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the next one, which is on this side. Just need to reposition this a little bit here. There is a foot that comes with it that you use, and I have that on here right now. So I'm just going to sew a little bit here to get it started again. Okay. Sometimes we need to get it started here a little bit. Just going to put that scissor in there. So now I've got the edge of it here, and this is like an armhole. So I use something sharp to slip this in the tunnel, and I'm just going to get that started there. And I have cut this on the bias. I used the bias binder ruler by Susan Cleveland, and I made a half a yard. It was with a half a yard of fabric to do the binding. You take your time, you don't rush. And anytime you want to do curves, this is a great way to bind them. I'm thinking about doing oven mitts for the kitchen with this, and I've seen it, I just need to find the pattern. Okay, so now I've got the second one done, and again I'm going to use the cutter, the scissor to cut the thread. Now brings it up, and now I'm just going to cut just right up at the top here. Now I've got that part done. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slip this back in here because I've got quite a bit of binding. So I'm just going to reposition this again. You want it facing you, or facing together I should say. Just need to get that thread out of there. And you slip it down in the tunnel there. And then I'm going to use my scissor here to get that started. Okay. And you sew just a little bit to get it started. Okay, so now I'm going to start at the very top here, but first I'm going to cut off. So you want it to be nice and neat. Okay, so again I'm going to go ahead and get that started there. Sometimes you can readjust your needle a little bit if you need to. Okay, so now the original pattern tells you to cut the arms like at 10.5 or 12.5, but you don't cut it at all. It's just one continuous piece when you do this. And now I've measured, I kind of eyeballed this, and I think I did it about 3 inches, but that looks pretty good to me here, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in there, and I'm going to keep sewing. So now I'm going to go all the way around because I've got lots of binding here. And you can, there's 2 little slots over on the other side here that you can put it in so it feeds it a little bit easier. Because I have like over 200 inches of 2-inch strips that I cut with the bias binding. The bias binding by PFAFF, this binder foot, is still a very popular item, and it works on like 4 or 5 of the new PFAFFs. Okay, so when I get close over here, I'm going to go ahead and cut this off because we want to keep sewing. We don't want to have that. Like I said, you take your time because remember there's some seams here that I did with doing the bias earlier. I just have to make sure my seams go through. And they do if you take your time. Sewing is not a race. We need to take our time to do a good job. And these are something you can actually make and sell, or it's a great gift. Okay, so now I'm coming up on the last part. Now I kind of eyeball it when I get closer. And so I take the other one from the other side here and get an idea. And it looks to me like it's about time to shove that in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I use the scissor here to let me get it in there. And then you just start sewing again. Okay, just about done. Now I'm going to use the scissor to cut that. Isn't that going to be cute? Okay, so now again, like I said, you pull it out to get a little bit here and cut that. All right, now I'm going to work on the tie. So now I'm going to put this back in here. Okay, and now first I'm going to sew quite a ways before I put it back in there, okay? Because I want to tie it around a baby or tie it around the neck. And I kind of look out here, it's not long enough yet, so I keep running it. You keep running it. I'm actually going to wait till this next seam goes through there. And sometimes you got to help that a little bit to get that through there. And now I think I got a long enough tie. So now I'm going to go ahead and put this back in one more time. And before I go on, I'm going to go ahead and clip the center of the front here, because then it will be a little bit easier when you get there. I did do a trying to think of the word I want to use. A stay stitch before I started. I stay stitched around the whole thing, okay? And I just seen that I have one spot here I have to cut off. Okay, so now here we go. We're just going to finish this up. And so like I said, I clipped in the center there to help me bring this to a flat spot so it's not pinched. Just about done. Okay, now I'm going to continue on to sew enough tie to hopefully have it matching the other side here. And if you get them too long, you can always cut some off. I do have another bias seam here, so I'm just helping to go through. Okay, a little bit longer here. Okay, now I'm going to stop and take a look and see what we got here. I'm going to measure them. And it looks like I need to go a little bit more. Okay, about there. Now I'm going to just cut the thread off right there. And then I'm going to cut the tail or the tie, okay? And then you would tie knots. But here's how it looks when you're done, okay? What a great tool. Thank you, PFAFF, and thank you for watching. Stop and see us. I'm Paula at Tri-State Sewing and Quilting. We are on 1111 Lewis Boulevard. That's across the street from Casey's on Highway 75. And our phone number is still the same. It's 712-258-1188. We sell PFAFF, handy quilter, and we service a lot of machines. Plus we have fabric and a lot of notions, and we have a lot of fun in here. Stop and see us. You'll be glad you did. Thanks for watching. Bye.